Hello and welcome to the Adventures of the Windswift. My name is Guy and joining me today is my usual bunch minus one. Con is not with us today, so his character has taken ill with what appears to be some kind of drow bug or something that's just upset his rather delicate constitution as the doctor of the Windswift. He's self-medicating and is lying in a bed in the inn known as Dolendendium, which is the hotel that the group went into. So that's where our story will pick up with the four intrepid adventurers as they continue a rather interesting investigation. So to tell us who is going to be doing that recap so we know what's going on, and if you haven't read below, you should read the recaps below as well. Right, so number 4, that is Tobias.
Why me? All right, I'm gonna try and sort this out because holy crap, there was a lot that happened last time. Most of it though was investigation and uncovering information, so it wasn't a lot of different things happening. It was mostly just an overload of information. But from what I can remember, we did have Blaxton hire a group of thespians, basically, that were going to write a little play to affect the propaganda machine, more or less, in order to get at the senators we need to get at. We were followed by someone. We didn't actually manage to figure out who that was. They were quite slippery with their explanations, and the person we did want to speak to unfortunately vanished before we could speak to them. So we only know we were followed, but we're not entirely sure by who. Good God, there was so much.
All right, let me help you.
Yeah, that's like my head is all overloaded.
What are you currently doing in the Drow territories in the first place?
Well, we are obviously going to try and get our dear, I shouldn't say friend because we haven't actually met him yet, but Athlen Vandendar, which is an important asset to the Order. And we are going to try and get him out of a very, very sticky situation where he's been pinned for murder or is actually guilty of murder. We don't know yet. According to the Drow, he's obviously guilty because he was there, he had the poison in his room, and the senator drank the poison right in front of him. So that's enough to be guilty in the Drow kingdoms, or Drow Republic. So we're going to have to really work around the Drow justice system to get him out. And the Drow justice system doesn't really care about facts, which is a little bit annoying.
Who needs facts when you already have a guilty party? All right, absolutely. So without much further ado, let's carry on with our various investigations. And I think I just need to remind myself of where everybody's going. So it is the evening. Blaxton, Con has taken ill. The following morning, the sun does not come up because you're in the Underdark. However, the lighting system certainly seems to increase in luminosity, and the four of you find yourselves early awake and ready to take on the day. You have regained all spells, etc., 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 after having a good night's rest in the Dolendendium, the hotel that you are all staying in. So, who is going where? I can't remember.
Well, me and Jorik were heading over to finally meet the accused, provided that the good advocate had arranged for that properly.
Right.
Yeah, and I was going to go with Con into the Undercity, but since he's busy throwing up, I guess we're not going to the Undercity. So I'll be going with Adresai.
All right, so you're going with Adresai.
Yeah, because I think I'd need some help actually doing interrogation and stuff like that. Talking, exactly.
And Sekhet-Hotep?
You wanted to go as 3 people.
I had in my notes that I was going with Con to see. Yes. So Blaxton, what are you
I
doing?
need to
Maybe
see
it's a good
Jezidari,
idea, or maybe
which
someone
is
can
the
come
daughter
with
of the
me.
now deceased senator and possible business partner. I want to meet with the Jovicius clan. I want to possibly, depending on if Yorick and Adresai have finished their talk, I would possibly go with them to the estate where the senator was murdered. I would like to go into the cave, or at least the area towards how far I can get, where the earthquake was, and see what happened there. I would like to speak to the writing person I hired for in the middle of the day, which is as I wrote down, Dolobium. And I want to see what happened in the last few days in the news.
So not a lot.
There's a lot to do.
One thing at a time.
Yes.
So which would you like to do first?
So since the people were supposed to visit me on noon, I think we said, well, 12 o'clock, I guess.
The scribe.
Noon is, yeah, exactly.
Dovlovian.
So I think going to Jezidari and seeing, or actually going to the person I spoke to, which I don't know, the trader, which was the kind of the middleman for that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe asking when she could make an appointment for us, because we spoke about that yesterday. Maybe that is like a innocent first step.
All right. So Saket, where are you going to go then?
In that case, I'll go to the estate.
You want to
see
travel
if
to
I
the
can
moon, the
glean
Crescent
any
Moon
information
estate
from the
itself.
servants.
All right.
Is that the same place where Jezidari lives now?
That is correct, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So when Saket mentions that, Blaxton, if you wanted to speak to Jezidari, she could quite possibly be at that estate.
Right, that's why I asked. Like, it would make sense then to go there once we have like even maybe a different
Right.
excuse to be there, right?
All right. So do you want to go there with Saket?
Well, we might as well travel together, and then, I don't know, he can make up some story like I'm the servant,
Sure.
his entourage, and I
All right,
go
so
and
that's
talk
what you guys are going to do?
the other
All right,
servants.
perfect. Okay, so the party splits up and heads in two different directions. At least it's only two, not three.
Awesome.
And yes, you go about your business. So Adresai and Jorik, you meet up with Podriarium, who is the lawyer or the defense who's been assigned to the case, and he very proudly tells you that he has managed to secure an audience with the prisoner, although he still cannot fathom what you will possibly gain from speaking with him. But anyway, far be it for anyone to accuse the Drow justice system of standing in the way of time wasting of the judicial system, but at least you have access to the prisoner. And so he takes you through the various halls of justice, which line the one side of the Senate halls and things, and eventually you get taken through to the jail area, where there are very few prisoners in the cells. The cells are mostly empty and incredibly clean. Just this general sense of sanitary state. There are also lots of guards. There are guards everywhere. Every archway has got two guards standing, guarding the space between it. You easily count 50 of them in between the arrival and the prison cell that you eventually find the poor wretch who is known as Athlen hiding in. He is cowering in his bed and looks rather the worse for wear. His one eye is swollen shut, his lip is swollen, his one ear looks like it's been cut open, his hand is bandaged, and he's not particularly responsive when the guards arrive and tell him that he has visitors.
Could we go into the cell and speak with him, please? Or is that too much.
Why would you want to go into the cell of a convicted murderer?
Well, I doubt he's going to try to murder us, and it would create a more relaxed rapport.
It doesn't quite look capable of doing much of anything right now, so I think we're fine.
Yeah.
That is what they said of the Povian Strangler. He still
we'll
managed
sign
to
a
rip the
waiver if you want. A personal
that would take too
responsibility.
much time to organise. That would take too much time. He speaks to the guard very carefully in Drow, and then asks if they can let the foreigners in. And they're tourists. They're curious, and it's their first thing. They like to bond. Whatever. The guard really doesn't particularly care because he doesn't think that Athlen is going to provide any more entertainment for him or his men. So they open up the cell and they let you inside. When Athlen sees you, his spirits start to raise, and he tries to lift up, but you can see that he holds his ribs. They've obviously been bruised or broken. Am I ever so grateful to see surface dwellers? What brings you here, and why are you, what are you doing?
Well, I take off the glove I assume I've been having and sort of go to shake his hand to show him the order mark discreetly.
It's not glowing.
No.
No,
That
no, it's
means
not.
you haven't come to fetch me then.
We've come to look into the matter. As you might understand, this is a little sensitive.
Oh, then I am doomed. I thought maybe you might have come to take me out of here.
Well, there are about 50 guards out here, so I think that might be a little bit of a premature assumption. But if we can do so by any more diplomatic or peaceful way, we'll certainly try.
All right then. Well, what do you want of me?
Well, we would like to hear your side of the story. See, the Drow justice system is a little bit peculiar, as you might know, so we still want the facts so we can start constructing a case for you instead of against you.
The state of the Drow, Blaxton and Saket, is a good 15 miles out of the city. And so you secure a ride aboard one of those spider-drawn carriages, unless you want to walk it. But the ride is not expensive, and it's easy enough to organise.
Okay, what's it? What's the price?
The price of the carriage ride, it's 5 silver. It's not a private carriage unless you want a private carriage, and then it's 2
I
gold.
want a private carriage.
All right, 2 gold then for the trip out there and back again. Unless you want him to wait, he's happy to wait as well.
Yes, please.
Well, he doesn't often get surface dwellers, so his language skills are poor unless you speak Drow. I don't think either of you two
I do speak Drow.
You do?
Blaxton does.
Oh, Blaxton does, that's right, yes. So he has a fat chat with you if you want it.
Absolutely.
He does the
Please.
traditional, I'm taking tourists on a route, so he explains the mushroom fields.
Yeah, and as he does, I always try to get information again, similar to what I did with the actor, trying to get information about like the local estates and how much it is. I assume you said that Jazidari has like lots of land. So, well,
yes. Oh, that family, Senator Tolrarius, is, well, bless him, I mean, he's gone now, may no keep his soul safe, but, and ensure a proper rebirthing of him, of course, but, the estate is massive, it would have to be, wouldn't it? I mean, he was, Senator of, what's the word now, is it geography, geology, something like that?
So I heard he worked for Vyx. If he's so wealthy, why would he work for such a self-motivated person?
Oh, you mean on the Plains projects out that side, where, well, they're all senators and they've all got mixed up in one another's businesses, haven't they? I believe that Vyx promised him something that was of geological importance. That's usually how you get them involved. Or they found something that warranted a visit from the geology department to go and have a look. I don't think it would be much more than that, really. Why? What have you heard?
I don't know. It was just such a horrible calamity that it was basically the first thing we heard once we arrived here in the city.
Oh, the earthquake, yes. Damn strange, that.
Really? What did you hear about the earthquake?
Well, it's not what I heard, it's what I know. My brother happens to have been working out there on the ruins. Well, they're now ruins. They were originally cottages of people who were living out there working on the territories. That earthquake somehow managed to split through at least 700 feet of pure dark crystal. Now, you're a surface dweller, so I don't suspect that'll mean much to you, but dark crystal is one of the hardest substances that you can find down here in the Underdark. As a matter of fact, if you hit a nodule of dark crystal, you mine around it. You don't try and go through it. Well, this earthquake just cut through it like it was butter. 700 feet. Can you believe it? That doesn't normally happen. Usually the quake happens, it rips stuff in half, and the dark crystal just rips through other stuff as it moves with the quake. Anyway.
Once again, the earth shows its power.
Oh, absolutely. Holver be praised. He certainly knows his stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But luckily, you and us are still here, so I guess the worst was averted.
Doesn't happen. The strangest thing, too, there was no warning. Usually there's a bit of a tremor or a shake, and then you kind of prepare for it. And then there's usually stuff that happens afterwards. Only this just shot out like lightning.
So what is his name when he introduced himself?
The driver?
Yes.
The driver's name is Yesenium.
Yesenium. Now, you said your brother works at the now ruins of the former earthquake?
Oh, yes. Well, he now works for Senator Vyx. Vyx has got a major excavation happening there now. They've got to try and dig out all the bodies. That's also a strange thing. Usually they don't take that much care about the plebs, you know. I mean, it's only a bunch of farmers out there. No one really cares. No senators fell in.
If we have some time once we finish here, could we go there as well and see what happened? Because I'm here on business, but it's also such novel things to me, and I would love to see how the Drow kind of excavate and kind of get back onto pace, so to say.
I don't see why not. We can head out that way. It's a little bit of a trip, but it's not too long. It won't take us more than 40 minutes or so to get there. The spiders are quick.
Well, first the business, maybe later the pleasure.
Right, absolutely. So you're going to the Crescent Moon, are you? It's a lovely estate. Mind that you don't go near the cave systems, though, around towards the lake. I hear that they're very unstable. I think that the senator was practicing his geography too much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, they are sometimes a little bit eccentric.
Well, far be it for me to speak against the senator, but who knows? When you cavort with halfling, I do apologise. It's just that everyone knows he did it. I mean, it was there.
Yeah, well,
although, mind you, I've heard a rumour. Did you know that he and the halfling may have been involved?
Involved?
Good job, Adressai.
Involved.
No, right, I was second.
That's right. No one could fathom why the halfling was visiting there. I mean, he had nothing to do with Senator Tolrarius at all.
Right.
Only now
halflings are so small. How is that supposed to work?
I don't like to visualize it myself, and what people do behind closed doors is entirely their own business, unless, of course, it's affecting the Republic, in which case it's the business of the 128 senators. But other than that, I really couldn't say. But then that means the poisoning might have been a lover's tiff.
Maybe someone else was involved. That's juicy.
Someone else might have been involved. Why? What have you heard?
I haven't heard anything. I just, assume. Why would a lover poison another one if it doesn't, gain you some fun?
Brevity,
or if it is a crime of passion.
Halflings usually like that on the surface. They go around murdering each other. Is that sort of common?
Not to my knowledge. I just mean, if somebody else would have involved, envy can be a strong emotion, can it not?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Huh. Oh, well, now that's something to think about, in which case I wonder who it would be. Anyway, we're arriving now, he says, and he points up to this large formation of rock, which has a fantastic curve, which creates almost like an amphitheater effect. And nestled in the bowl of this magnificent geological formation is a huge, very well laid out farm. It looks as if it's growing all kinds of mushroom varieties. There's something that's growing on a vine that almost looks like wine, except from here you can see that there's great big clusters of black spheres rather than the purple grapes that you would expect. And then right at the back of the crescent you can see there's a very faint waterfall that plunges, it must be half a mile easily, down into this crystal clear lake. Then sitting across the entire thing, sort of surveying out over this vista, there is one of these spectacular white marble carved cities like structures. It looks like a spectacular villa, huge commanding presence that just looks out over the whole thing. And as you're making your way up, both of you can make perception checks, if you please.
7.
It's a spectacular vista. It's absolutely stunning.
9.
As the wagon slays its way into the central courtyard of the villa. Back to the two of you in the prison cell. I suppose the most important thing is that I didn't do it, obviously. Why would I kill the senator? That's the silliest thing ever.
What were you doing there in the first place?
Actually, let's start from the very beginning. What was your purpose in the Underdark to begin with? Why were you here? Can someone use that against you?
Are they in a private environment, or are the Drow
the
still
guards are
standing
there,
outside?
and the lawyer is standing right behind them. So the halfling looks at you and he goes, "Well, as you know, I was down here just running my small business, which was basically furnishing the surface dwellers with a more comfortable environment in which to operate down here, acting as a middleman, if you like, between the Drow and anyone who happened to come down from the surface. I had no quarrel with the senator. I didn't even know the senator existed at all." Both of you can make perception checks, please.
Inside?
14.
10.
I really didn't. I had nothing to do with him whatsoever. You both see that he winces in pain briefly.
All right. Let's start with, why did you have contact with the senator at all? And I am telepathic, so I'm gonna ask him telepathically what his purpose was while I'm asking that question.
I'm gonna start taking notes.
All right. So your telepathy, does he get a saving throw against it?
Not that it says, it's just telepathy, communication.
Is it communication both ways, or can you just read his mind?
It doesn't actually say that he can
Respond?
say anything back. So let's skip that.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll clarify it. But your question was, why did I go to the senator? Yes.
Well, why did you have contact with him to begin with? I mean, we know you were invited to the estate and everything, but why? What was the reason for this visit?
I was directed to the Senate because, to the Senator's vineyard, because his daughter trades in wines, and she wanted to set up a negotiation with anyone that I might know to transport wines. That's the absolutely only reason why I was there at all. He doubles over in pain and sort of rolls around a little bit. You can both give me medicine checks.
15.
Yeah, 4.
So, Jorik, you're worried as to what's going on with this poor halfling. Adressai, it makes no sense for him to double over whatsoever.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that must be causing him considerable pain. He's got bruised or cracked ribs. To bend over doubly so that his head is hanging near the floor on the side of his bed seems very strange.
Yeah. While Jorik does his questions and he answers, I want to cast Identify as a ritual, so it'll take about a few
10
minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes.
Identify.
Yeah, let me see. I learn... I need to touch the creature to do it. So I'm sort of going to sit next to him and sort of gently pat his shoulder, just sort of touch his shoulder.
Right.
Or sort of touch him while I'm writing. And if I touch a creature, I will learn any spells that are affecting it.
Ah, all right. Okay, so that's what you're doing. So yes, I was there just as a merchant of wine, and he invited me into his study, and well, that is to say, he suddenly starts coughing, and he seems to go on this for a while. He reaches a hand out, Adressai, towards one of your pages, as if he wants to sort of wipe his mouth with it.
I give him one.
All right.
Not one I've written on.
Right. All right.
I turn around to the advocate and
Yes.
Would you please lock the door, thank you? We would like to have some privacy. You can leave us alone. We'll handle this. We'll call you when we need you.
Unfortunately, that's not permissible. You are also surface dwellers, and there's naturally a certain amount of paranoia, whether it's founded or unfounded, I don't know, but I have to be with you for the entire duration, as do the guards. I mean, I could leave, but they would have to stay as well. And
Right.
since I
Understood.
am his defense, technically, I do think it's valuable for me to hear his deceptions, just so that I can know what he might scream out while they're dragging him away to be executed. I can mitigate any possible rumors that he might spread. Yes.
Understood. Damn it.
So the halfling kind of takes the note and he pushes it back into your hand, Adressai, and says, "Oh, thank you. Sorry. What was your next question?"
Yeah, I would like you to describe the meeting with the senator. Who was there? What were you talking about?
It was just myself and the senator. It was very cordial, as a matter of fact. He was inquiring as to whether I'd made much progress with his daughter, and I informed him that we had indeed signed an agreement, and that everything was going well. And then he offered me a taste of his wine, and I've obviously wanted to test the wares that I was going to be purchasing, so I naturally said yes. And the next minute I know he turns up dead. He takes a sip and the poison acts quite quickly. Rotted the whole of his face off. It was quite disturbing.
So you drank the same wine that he did?
It looked like it. He poured it from the same bottle.
Huh.
So a targeted poison then.
Or something in the goblet itself? Or the glass?
Well, that's what the Drow are saying, because otherwise why didn't I die as well, you see? That's why they're saying it's murder. And of course then, I start calling for help, and the entire household suddenly arrives. And the next thing I know, one of their boys is shouting that he's found something in my bags.
Guy, I rolled a 19 for a medicine check. Is there actually such a thing as targeted poisons that affect a singular species?
That melts people's faces off.
No, but targeted poisons like that.
Yes, there are various poisons that will affect only drow or only gnomes or only dwarves. Yeah, there are a few. They're very, very rare, but there are a few that are out there, absolutely.
Okay. All right, and you say you had a room at the estate. How long were you at the estate?
I was only staying for the single night. It's a bit of a journey out there for someone as wee as I am, and I had decided to spend the night at the request of, unfortunately, of the senator.
So the senator asked you to stay, but you were there to do business with his daughter.
Yes.
Do I understand that correctly? Yes.
That's what I told the authorities, yes.
I see. Other side, do you have any questions?
Well, who else has spoken to you since?
No one particularly, just the enforcers that arrived and arrested me and brought me here. I haven't heard anything for the last couple of days.
I'm still muttering occasionally through this incantation and sort of gesturing for Jorik to keep talking.
Back to Blaxton and Saket. As the sleigh comes to a stop, various slaves come out and take the horses. Take the spider under control and open up the side of the sleigh so that both of you can dismount. And a very neat-looking drow steps forward and bows low before you. You are welcome here at the estate of the Crescent Moon. Might I inquire as to what you are doing here?
Yes, of course. My name is Blaxton Rose, and I am not sure if the lady of the estate already received the message from our mutual acquaintance, but I was looking forward to meeting her.
You are the surface trader, no doubt, yes. My lady has been informed that you might be paying a visit. We weren't sure when exactly. I shall inform her that you are here, and then I shall see if she's in for visitors.
Exactly, and kind of move a little bit closer, almost like conspiratively, and say like, and if it's possible, could we stay in the murderer's room? That's so exciting.
Oh, you're one of those, are you?
Well, business and pleasure can be mixed, can it not?
If Judge Rizari is willing to entertain guests in the first place. Especially tourists, he says as he turns and walks back into the estate.
And as he says tourists, I put up like a demeanor that like I was hurt. Tourists.
A few moments later, he comes back. Her ladyship has agreed to see you, but she hasn't yet agreed to whether you may spend the night or not. So I'm afraid you'll have to wait to gawk at the bed that the murderer stayed in. And I would remind you, it was the lady of the house's father who was murdered. And although she was not particularly close to him, it would still be insensitive of you to mention it in her presence.
It wouldn't come to my mind, of course. And I can just like snap and kind of look at her, Saket, and just like shrug as I look at her.
So how do you respond to the snapping of the fingers?
I go and grab bags and stuff from the carriage.
Yes, you can take the servants' entrance. If you'll come this way, my lord. And then he looks back at Saket. It's that way, he says, pointing round the back.
I mean, that's exactly what we wanted, right?
Right. So he starts to take you up the steps. Give me a perception check, Blaxton.
Oh yeah, those. Natural 20, so 21.
Oh. As he's walking up the steps, you see that his hand has gone from being held fairly casually. His hand has slowly sifted out this way towards you, and you hear him saying, Of course, this is the area where his lordship first met the halfling. I could go on, but,
Yeah, obviously he wants some money, right? Okay, so I'll just give him 3 gold pieces.
well, you get the grand tour for that.
Good.
Nobody believes the halfling was here to see Lady Judzidari. He,
Yes.
He's not
Drunk on the
known
job, huh?
as a wine merchant.
Alright.
There are rumours that he was here on an affair of the heart. Though I find that to be completely bogus as well. I knew
Of the heart,
senator.
not with the lady, but with any of the staff?
I hadn't considered that prospect. Everyone assumed that he was just sleeping with the senator to gain power. That is why one usually courts a senator in the first place. But to sleep with one of the staff? What on
Surface
earth could he
dweller
possibly
things.
hope to achieve with that?
Gross.
The mind of a surface dweller, and I just shrug.
Ah, yes, I suppose so. Well, if he was here for someone within the household, I shall find out, don't you worry. No, it was not an affair of the heart that brought the halfling here. Definitely not. As he leads you into the main audience chamber. Saket, you go around the back of the building, and you can see there is a young drow, quite handsome, sitting. His shirt is off. He's smoking a cigarette. He's got several spades next to him and some buckets, and he's very laid back. He sees you come round the corner and gives you a low whistle.
Thank you. I need to take these bags inside.
You're speaking in common, I'm assuming.
Can you help me?
He looks you up and down with that sort of casual regard that one might have when one's a youngster full of hormones. And I am not butler, and you are a slave like me. So help your own bags up.
I'm not a
Well,
slave.
excuse
I'm
me
paid.
for breathing.
But, if you didn't want to be friendly and help a girl out, that's fine. I'll just do it
He
by myself. But if you
stands
could at
up
least
at
point me
that
in
and
the
kind of
right
chucks his
direction.
cigarette down.
That would be good.
And he walks up to you. He gets fairly close to you, as a matter of fact. He kind of definitely steps into your space, sort of testing to see how far he can go. There's that rank scent of sweat, because he's obviously been working out in the fields all day. I can certainly help out an elf of the desert.
Great! I thrust the bags into his chest.
All right. So
That's really kind of you.
he leads you to the back steps, which leads you into this large reception hall. It's not grand at all. It's very simple, very plain. And he says... Well, he doesn't say anything, actually. There's various drow that he takes you past, and he mentions to them in drow something, and they look at you, they look at the bags, and then there's a lot of conversation that goes on. Eventually they point to a large wooden table in the kitchen area and state that you should sit here while your master negotiates for how long you are staying.
Ah, interesting. Okay, and is there any food or anything that I could get? Is there a
He
kitchen?
speaks to
I would rather wait in the
whoever is in
kitchen.
the waiting, the servants' sort of hall. They chat away. Then he looks back. This is because of your woman things, yes? I like the women things.
Yes, it's completely because of women things.
He says, flashing you a smile.
Yes.
And he takes you through into this very large kitchen. There's a hive of activity going on. And the trick is the scent that comes across as this very cinnamon-esque kind of aroma, but very earthy as well as they're busy preparing stuff. There is a mushroom on the table that is quite easily this size, and it's been cut open, emptied out of its contents, it's busy being filled up with various spices and herbs and things. There's this very rotund drow woman who's clearly the chef, and she looks up at you, she looks over at the other guy, she comes back. Oh, so you're another one of Oxium's conquests, are you? Well, I haven't got any more work for you, I'm afraid. The kitchens are completely full up.
No, I don't have a clue what you're talking about on that front, but I am here with the other surface dweller that is visiting your mistress, and I just, thought I could come down here, catch up on the real gossip. I mean, my master thinks he can get all the info talking to your mistress about what really happened that night with your senator and the halfling, but I reckon you guys know everything, really. It'd be nice to get a bit of an upper hand on him for a change.
There's the real reason for it. I knew you were one of Oxium's trollops. Ever since he came into money, he's been bringing women around, thick as thieves they are. All right, well, you can sit yourself over there, and if you're going to be in the kitchens, you might as well prove yourself to be useful. And she shoves this bowl of, it looks like rocks, black rocks over towards you. And then she takes a large paring knife and drops it onto the table next to you. You can scallop those, thank you very much. And as for you, Oxium, she says, and she suddenly switches over into Drow, and she rattles off this litany of curses at him, and he kind of gives you a look. So maybe later, then. Oh, blimey, you haven't really worked for...
What's scalloping?
She looks at your hands. You're not a servant.
Whoa.
Oh, you're one of those. Immediately, her entire tone changes. And
Saket, for Christ's sakes!
She quietens down, she kind of becomes a bit more motherly. She takes the knife and she shows you how to run it over the surface of these black things, and you can see that as she does so, she basically scalps out the surface of this thing, revealing this very white substance underneath it. It's almost like a potato with a very heavy black skin. So she shows you how to do that. All right, back to our two in the prison cell. Your identify spell goes off. He's not under any magic whatsoever.
Damn it. I was hoping that the pain was, but...
He's trying to make a point. Right, so... you said that you were going to stay there just for the night, so you were given a room, yes?
That's right, yes.
All right, and what did you bring with you to the estate?
Just the usual night clothes and then a change for the morning. I wasn't planning on staying long, so I didn't need to bring very much with me. Yeah, that was exactly what I brought with me.
And the poison was found in...
Apparently it was found in the bag. The reason why the bag had a false bottom is because I often need to transport money, and it's safer if it's hidden away underneath all the clothes and things.
So
that makes sense.
So the poison was in a secret compartment in your bag, yes?
No, the poison was never in my bag. It was accused that the poison was in my bag. I did not put the poison in my bag. The poison was never in my bag. It was that fella who accused me of... he said he found it in the bag. And then later on, once the guard searched the bag, they found the false bottom and immediately assumed that it was obviously stashed away in there.
Who was it that found the poison? Or claimed that he found the poison?
It was some bloke. He was the gardener of some sort. He was apparently upstairs doing something. I don't even find out why.
And what was he doing in your room? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. They wouldn't answer that question. They simply stated that that was irrelevant. The fact that he found the poison in my bag was proof enough.
Yes, I'm learning a lot about the Drow justice system, and that does sound like them.
Something about who would they rather believe, a Drow or a filthy surfacer? And there is the false bottom, which I admit on the surface does certainly look suspicious, but I assure you, I have never traded in poison of that nature, ever.
Of that nature.
Nice addition. All right. Any additional information you would like to share before we toddle off?
No, I think I've given you everything. You've made your notes quite right, have you, young lady? He says, looking over at you.
Oh, yes, I have all of the notes. Don't worry about that.
Trust me, she does.
Good. No, then I think that's pretty much it. It might behoove you to go and speak to Judge Zidari at the estate. If you read your notes
the merchant that we are here with are going to speak with her on a trade-related matter. I think that part of it would already be taken care of.
Yeah, but maybe after you've reviewed your notes, you might find that there is a question you might have that your trading companion doesn't necessarily know about, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yes. I often find things like that when I go through my notes.
It's always pays to go through and check.
Don't worry.
That's quite enough, Athlen. We get the point.
Well, I bloody well hope so, because I've got my neck on the line, don't I? Not that I've got anything against Palovium, but I'm sorry, lad, I don't think you're going to get me off. And Podlovium goes, I don't think I'm going to get you off either. I think you're guilty.
I have his name down as Padrinium. Which one is it?
Yeah. I just take my notes too.
Podriarium, sorry, yes, Palovium. Where did I get that from? Padriarium.
I don't know. You suddenly had like water in your mouth, maybe?
Yes.
All these bloody Drow names, man.
Yeah. Padriarium, you're quite right.
All right. Well, I'm done with questions, so unless you have anything, Adversai, I think we can leave.
Would it be, I asked the advocate, would it be possible to come back and ask any further questions if we come up with anything? Or is this the one meeting we get?
Well, they didn't specify how many times you would speak to the prisoner. I suppose you could come back. Just tell me and I'll join you and we'll come back here and...
Thank you.
Really is a waste of time, though. I mean, as you can see, he did have a false bottom in his bag, which does not speak well of his character to begin with. And the poison was found by a very trusty individual of the senator's staff, and he
One
was
might
there.
argue that a false bottom that protects your money from thieves would be the sign of a forward-thinking character.
Adresai, you're... Don't bother.
I'm trying to help.
Trying to.
Well, unfortunately,
don't
it's not seen as it's just incriminating evidence. That's all it is. And you heard his story about visiting Judge Zidari, about setting up his wine transfer and all that sort of nonsense.
Why is that nonsense?
Oh, well, it's fairly obvious. Blaxton, you are shown into a large room that contains quite a great number of books that line the walls. It's quite a spectacular private collection. And sitting at a particularly large desk, give me a perception check, please, is this rather graceful-looking drow female.
So the last roll was a natural 20. This time it's a natural 1.
Oh, of course. Oh, of course. That's what I needed. So...
I mean, Saturday.
Yes, from Aki Poirot to Clouseau in one easy dice roll. And so you step into this large chamber with this woman sitting behind this very large desk. She looks up at you and she sort of dismisses the idiot who's been showing you around.
So did he tell me anything else before we arrived?
The only other thing that he happened to drop in passing as he was taking you towards the study was, well, of course, the strange thing is he claims he came here to see Judrizari, only he went straight into the senator's chamber, didn't he? Came straight here. Very curious, he says, as he pushes open the doors and leads you into that chamber.
Yeah.
Judrizari looks up at you. I somehow expected someone fatter, I suppose. But you're welcome, nonetheless. I am Judrizari Tolrarius, she says, as she stands.
I would kind of step forward. How far away is she? Like you said, this is a fairly big room.
Yes, she's about 60 foot away.
All right, so not wanting to shout through the room, I would then get closer and kind of make a deep bow with the Drow customs.
Right.
I'm not quite sure how you envision that, but make like a deep bow and say like, well, you must be lithe if you want to slip through the cracks of the tax system, don't you?
I see what you mean. Yes, well played. Very well played. Now, I've been informed that you want to purchase wine from the estate.
Yes, wine for one thing, and I've heard you had some sort of brewing experience from Fungus?
Yes, that is true too. Only I find it curious that you want to come and talk about wine making and brewing when my father died in this very room not too long ago from poison in his wine. My sales have never been lower.
You brought up the wine. I was really here for the coffee, but I am very interested, obviously, in expanding the trade relations, which I assume, which I was going to bring forward.
I see that our mutual friend was a bit eager in terms of perhaps helping me to sell the wine. She indicated that you were interested in purchasing it. My mistake. Please take a seat, Mr. Rose. I'm sure we can reach amicable discussions in terms of trade. She looks around the desk and indicates to two chairs next to this magnificent set of windows, which looks out over the vineyard and down to that crystal clear lake and then the cliffs beyond.
Right. I kind of nod again and sit down.
So, coffee you were here for specifically?
Well, that was the wares I was, that I talked about with our mutual acquaintance.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And would you be interested in an exchange, or do you want to purchase?
Well, I was looking for a mutual exchange in goods, we surfaces don't often come in the pleasure to enjoy the fruits of labor of the Drow Republic, and you, recently, as you yourself said, came into to own certain fruits that I would like to make a deal with you about. So, if you want to exchange goods, which are the goods you would be most interested in? My family and I, we come from the northern parts of the Brunei Kingdom, so they that gives you like an idea of what would be the easiest way or the easiest things to acquire.
It strikes me that we might have a mutual acquaintance on the surface. I wonder, have you ever heard of an individual by the name of Ruth?
Would I?
You can give me a wisdom check. Intelligence check.
Straight intelligence? Okay. Well, with no modifier, it's a 10.
Ruth does sound familiar. It could be one of the captains within the order. It seems to ring a bell, but you can't be sure.
All right. I say, well, Ruth is a fairly common name. I fear you need to be a little bit more specific. I know a few people I ran into once were like captains of
yes, he's
vessels,
the captain of a
others
vessel
were
by the name of
traders.
the Cloud Dancer.
I think I met him once, yes.
Just before he conspired to blow up half of the Order, yes. The Cloud Dancer was one of the ships that was targeted to be destroyed in the harbour.
Yeah, I remembered I remember the name of the vessel.
You don't happen to perhaps see him, or might see the ship, the Cloud Dancer, would you?
As I said, I've met him just once. It's a little bit some time ago. I'm not sure if I will run into him again, but I mean, I could speak with the harbor master and see see that he gives me a message whenever the vessel comes to port again.
That is a pity. You see, I was hoping to give him this, and she slides a very dusty book over towards you, and there's a note on top of it. But if you're not going to see him, then I suppose that it can't be helped. Oh, if you'll excuse me, she says, give me an insight check.
Do I really need to give an insight check for that? Natural 1.
She says, if you'll excuse me, I have to go and speak about dinner. Can I impress upon you to spend the night?
I nod and said, surely, but I'll stay the wine.
I see that the surface dwellers have a certain sense of humor after all. That was a very Drow remark, she says.
So what I want to know is how she would react to that. I mean, it was obviously a kind of... I mean, I don't know, I just rolled a natural one on the inside, so maybe you don't want to tell me.
She seems to have taken it as a genuine jibe that is darkly amusing. But she leaves the room, leaving you completely alone.
Book.
All right, so you're going to read the book?
Sure, but before I do, I'll cast Protection from Evil and Good on me.
All right. Back to you, Sekhet, in the kitchens. You are busy scalloping these rock things. You're not entirely sure what they are.
Things.
So have you been with him long? Says the chef.
And probably. I think there could have been I just write things down for him, okay?
They all have strange tastes, and we must
I've been with him
simply
for a long
make
time,
sure
but
they're
that's besides the
satisfied. Isn't that
point.
right? All right, you can finish scalloping those now. All right. So now, talking about satisfying, we've got quite a different dinner tonight. Judsidari has got quite a different taste from the old senator. That's to be sure. Mind you, what were you doing with Oxium, if you don't mind me asking?
Really?
He has led many a woman
Getting
astray
I'm being really
in the
bluntly
past.
honest.
Do you ever?
I'm just not finding the right words today.
Are there any right words for this?
No.
This is why you're gunnery.
It's easier. It's much easier.
He
to
has been
listen
acting up,
things
obviously,
that-
since
bang.
his windfall, but it won't last long. He'll have spent it by the end of the month.
His windfall?
He got paid quite a nice sum for finding the poison on the halfling. He considers himself to be something of a hero, doesn't he?
Oh, he found...
That's a good question, but we've been instructed not to ask it, because he did find the murderer of our lord. So, well, one doesn't ask, does it? Between you and me, I think he was up there for old, Eerie. She's the chambermaid, and she was being strung along by him until, well, till you came along, actually. Well, I wouldn't let her see you with him all cosy up like you were. Our Erie's got a bit of a temper on her, and she's as strong as an ox, so she'll clip you around those precious little ears of yours if she suspects you're trying to steal her gardener away from her.
Oh. And where one might
I'm not
find
actually thinking of going along with it. I've heard rumours, but, well, there's more to it than just size.
Yes, there's girth too. But on another note,
I understand your meaning, lass. You don't need to go any further. You want to see his mushrooms.
Actually, I just wanted to find out, no, not the mushroom.
Why are you so curious about all of that? It's in the past now. That halfling is probably swinging as we speak.
Not quite, but, like I said...
If Oxen gets one up on you, it's Eerie for you. She'll take you down, mark my words, but I'm not going to get involved. You younglings have all got your priorities all up the pipe. All right. Well, you'll find him outside. He's loafing around. He doesn't have anything to do since the Senator left. He used to help the Senator out with some of his experiments and things.
He got this windfall. Oh, really? Now that really sounds
Well, he's certainly hoping to go bang shortly. Right, out you go. She chases you out of the kitchen. Back to the two of you in the city.
Holy crap, the innuendo is off the scale.
Not sure there was any innuendo there, actually. It's just pure description.
Past that.
Yeah.
We're up to quintuple entendres here.
Yes.
All right, what are the two of you doing?
We're leaving.
Yeah, I guess we should say goodbye to the lawyer man and
Lawyer man.
the advocate and
Pavlov.
head off. Yeah, so that I can go through and find the note that he.
Yes, thank you for your help. We'll stay in touch if we uncover anything.
All right.
Didn't he also, just a reminder, didn't he also say that you could speak with the servants of the estate?
Yes, he did. He did indeed.
Yeah, you don't need me to go out to the estate. They will probably be expecting you. You said that your companion's gone out there already, didn't you?
Yes,
Yes.
Our master is there. He has a trade deal with the
lady of the house.
the lady. Yes. Thank you.
Right, yes, absolutely. Okay, well, if you need anything else, just let me know. I'll be in the libraries.
Thank you. I'm sure I'll be back to eventually.
Yes, and if you don't mind, don't throw any books at me again.
Well, don't burst into my. No, I won't.
Thank you.
He's just backing down and sort of moving off. All right, where are the two?
I
of you
really had a
heading?
good time last night with the books.
Oh,
It was fun.
he looks like he turns a darker shade of purple before scurrying off down the corridor.
Oh, it was fun.
I don't think he took that the way you intended. Just saying.
How do you know what I intended?
Fair point.
Right, let's go find somewhere we can take a look at these notes properly.
Yeah. Yes. And could we stop by a leather worker on the way? I need gloves. Yes. I just realized this is kind of obvious. Yes.
All right. Leather worker costs you 3 gold to get a nice pair of very soft black leather gloves. And do you head back to the Dolendendium?
Actually, I think we should probably try and get our way out to the estate and meet up with Blaxton.
I want to just stop somewhere, while he's looking at gloves, and just actually have a look at this note that I was pushed.
All right. Well, it's not. It doesn't look like much of a note. It just looks like someone bled all over a page. Give me an insight check.
That is, 19.
You're looking at it, and it really looks like he just wiped blood off of his mouth and scrumbled the page up. But then the more you look at it, the more you start to get this impression that there's one pool of blood, one spot on the page.
It's a Rorschach test.
Yes, right?
I see.
It almost is, actually, in a way. But there's one that is... It's very teardrop shaped. And again, you would have assumed that it was just a splodge. Except that this seems to be in the middle of it, as if he's run his finger through it. He bled quite a lot onto this page, by the way. But it looks as if he managed to scrape into the middle of this splodge. It looks like an old lightning bolt rune, or... It's just very odd. That's the only place on the page that looks like it's been rubbed and purposefully altered. The rest just is muck and bits and pieces.
Do I know anything about traditional meanings of this rune?
Give me an arcane check, please.
Yes.
Yeah, this is definitely your area. What are you looking
at?
What did you write?
18.
This particular rune is a very, very old rune. It's even older than the dragons. This predates the dragons, as a matter of fact. If it is in actual fact the rune in question, and not just where his lip happened to smudge across the page.
I'm going to assume it's deliberate.
The rune is a symbol for power. And generally speaking, it was inscribed onto structures or onto weaponry that was meant to channel a significant amount of magical power. There are certain dwarven artifacts that have got these runes carved onto them. Usually it's hammers that are used within forges to metal out incredibly hard swords that are designed to have a magical charge embedded onto them. This rune to be carved into the lintel above the engine room of the Windswift. So it is definitely still in use, but this is a very old symbol.
It's a rune of power within a drop of water. That's very interesting.
This is your area of expertise. What does that mean?
Well, as far as I can tell, I mean, I'm guessing here, but that there is something about the water at the estate, or at the place where our dear senator went and had a look before he died. Perhaps some underground river or something that is being used. I don't know yet, but we should definitely go and ask the lady about this.
That's not helpful, but okay.
Well,
yes.
It might be extremely helpful. Look, we just need to...
Look, I'm all about logic and facts, and this is kind of very
vague.
Yes, very vague. So
yes, well, they obviously meant something by it, and he said that we'd want to ask her about this, right?
All right, let's go, because this confuses me. I know less after this hearing with the man than I did before, so let's just go.
Somewhere a drow walks past and says, "That's why we don't talk to the prisoners." And then he carries on going.
Yeah, fuck you too.
Hey, if we want to get confused, that's all right.
We like being confused,
yeah.
but we don't.
Blaxton, you open up the book.
Indeed. Well, first of all, I read the note on top of it, but yeah.
The note on top of it is simply written. It's written in common. It says, "Dear Ruth, please find the book that you lent me on our last trading expedition. It was very informative on the horticultural attributes of Rhinodon dung in the enhancement of growing procedures, and I look forward to the first delivery of your manure in the near future." Okay. Signed, Judizari Tolriarius, and that's it.
Okay. Sure.
The outer cover of the book is indeed a treatise on the efficacy of Rhinodon dung in an open field environment.
What I want to do is not really read through the book. What I want to do is taking a note from our accused here and see if there are double hidden compartments. So, for instance, usually like in the front book, the book is kind of usually you use some sort of glue, right?
Right.
Glued into the cover. So maybe there's something in between the outer page and then the book cover itself. Maybe there's just
as you look at the book, you realize that the outer leather-bound cover, the treatise on Rhinodon dung, is completely ripped away from the actual contents of the book.
I don't quite follow. So this is like this is a different text that was in there before? Is that what you mean by that?
Correct. And when you open up the book to look at the pages that are contained within,
thumbing through them, right? It's
sure, you're busy going through them. This whole book is a magical tome. There is no common writing in here whatsoever. It is just arcane calculations. There's diagrams of a circular sphere that's been cut into multiple layers. It's just full of this stuff. And when you start looking at the text, you can give me an Arcana check, if you please.
Okay, so what I will do anyway, but I'll first give you the Arcana check. 11.
As you're trying to look at the text, you realize that the text is busy moving around on the page. It's a standard magic sort of trick that unless you are of the arcane mind, you can't really read what's written there. So it's perfectly... you can sort of catch phrases here and there, but it completely jumbles itself as you look at it.
Magical encryption.
So what I want to do anyway is get a dagger out of my robes that I was wearing.
And stab it!
No.
Okay.
This is not Harry Potter. Try to cut it out of the book back and go to one of the bookcases, destroy one of those books too, and then put them back in there, and then just put basically the empty shell of this book back into the bookcase.
Right.
And then, make it as hidden as possible.
What do you do with the actual pages?
Put them into my backpack.
All right, that's fine. As you slide them into your backpack and take your seat back down again, the door opens and Judizari walks back in.
Jadzia Dax. Oh, wait.
Yeah, no, wrong show. So Judizari walks back in and she takes her seat next to you. I'm sorry for the distraction. Now, where were we? We were talking about coffee, yes? Is that right?
Yes, indeed. So as I said, usually we surfacers don't come into the joy of your produce.
Right, absolutely.
And I think it could be beneficial to both parties if we would change this.
Absolutely. She slides the book back over to her side and takes it and goes over to the desk, and she puts it back down onto the desk. I'll find somebody else to transport this up to the captain, don't worry. And then unless you're going to do something specific in the conversation, she will then start to hammer out a trade negotiation with you.
So about the trade negotiation, and while I do this, I might kind of mention a few other things, just as a side note, right? What I want to do as a trade negotiation is I will say, I have the possibility I have is that I could get hold of quite a large fleet of vessels that could move around quite a few wares, which would help to basically, handle the logistics of like
sort of large quantity and mass dissemination. All right, perfect.
Exactly.
That's exactly what she wanted to hear.
Yes.
Saket, speaking about people who are hearing exactly what they want to hear, you step back out into this large cavern and find Oxium lounging again. He's smoking another cigarette. He looks over at you. Ah, come back for more, huh? Doesn't seem to be.
I kind of look around to make sure like I'm being watched by anyone. Okay. So, I kind of wondered if you could show me
I
where
see.
you
It's
found
that
this
kind of
poison.
game. Okay, I show you, you show me, huh?
And then I was kind of wondering if we could go to the caves where you did the experiments.
I think
like
I see where you are
experiments.
going with this.
And I approve.
We don't have to go all the way to the caves. My room is just over there.
No, we
It's,
have to go to the
okay.
caves.
It's
Definitely have to go to the caves.
all right. Come with me, he says, and he
Yeah.
takes you up some back stairs in this mansion. And you go along very plain corridors until he gets to a doorway, which he then pulls on a candlestick and the door slides open to reveal this very opulent passageway filled with carpentry and paintings on the walls and things. He gives you a wink as he grabs your hand and then guides you down the passageway. We're not really supposed to be up here, but...
Do you
Made
have
for
these
servants,
passages
yes.
everywhere in the building? I mean, there are back passageways that can take...
Well,
And
yes, they're
everyone
for
can
servants.
use them. So, was anybody else in the room when you found the poison? Or had
I
anyone
don't
just
know
seen
what
that?
you mean. He takes you 2 doors
Okay,
down,
I just
checks
wanna see the
inside it,
room.
and
Can
then
you guys see
shows
the
you
room?
in. It's a fairly large room. There's a bed in it. There's a large table with chairs and things around it. It's got a spectacular view out over the entire estate, looking down to that crystal clear lake and the waterfall beyond it. I was in here, and
How come you were in here?
there, my sister, Eerie, she work here. I was visiting my sister. Yes, my sister was here. I was visiting my sister. Yes. Yes, she is a maid here.
She was in this room.
Yeah. She...
Huh. And then you
If that
magically
kid fell off the
found
bed,
the poison in the false bottom bag. Oh, it fell off the bed. How did that happen?
I was tired, so Eerie said I should lie on the bed. I lay on the bed, and the bag fell off the bed, and there was the poison. Ah, surprise! Everyone was surprised. So there was the yes. Yes, my sister. I was tired.
So you met Eerie in the room, who noticed that you were very tired and that you needed to lie down on the guest bed. Is that normal for servants to be allowed to do
I
that?
was tired.
Uh-huh. And, you found the poison. Okay. And what was
I don't know.
doing in
She's
here
cleaning,
before
I
you
suppose. That's her job. No, you shouldn't be daring. No, she's
You probably
horrid,
don't want me to meet
nasty.
her, but I think I'd like
she's
to meet
vicious,
her.
Drow. Yes, you wouldn't like her. No.
Nasty.
And she wouldn't like you.
Yes.
So we go to the caves now?
No. Probably not with the news I've got
Yes,
to
we
break.
go to the caves right now.
Yes, I
I know
really still
just
like
the
to
one.
see the
It's
caves.
beautiful.
Yeah.
What?
Is there any more secret passages
they
in
all
here?
have room. Oh, sure.
Can we go use that one to get to the caves?
I don't know what that
I
means.
do
He
like
says as he
secret
reaches up and
passages.
he places a hand on a rather ornate sculpture that's acting as a column within this room. A panel slides open and you can see that there is a very small antechamber here where there's a little table. It looks like there's a tray that's been set out. Quite possibly this is where a servant would prep a breakfast or position a breakfast until they take it through. As you step through, though, the panel slides shut behind you, and 2 pinpoints of light shine in to the slightly gloomier passageway. And looking behind you, you can see that you would look straight out of that statue that he touched to open the door. You'd be able to look straight out of that and into the room without really being observed much. But to this point that he starts to hurry along as his eagerness to get to the caves builds.
Don't make him go boom in any way, shape, or form.
All right, so that's what you're doing. The two of you are in your carriage that you have commissioned. It costs you 2 gold to get there, and it takes you about half an hour or so, which is about the amount of time that it's taken Saket to weasel her way up into the bedroom, and for Blaxton to start hammering out a deliverable time schedule upon which 15 tons of coffee will be delivered in exchange for a certain amount of money and all those kinds of wonderful things.
I want to make it like a drawing, not made in blood, as a copy of that symbol that.
Jorik is notably quiet during this trip, unless Adresai has something to talk about, because he's trying to put all the puzzle pieces together, and it's not making sense. They're all kind of wrong shapes, so he's kind of.
Hey, don't worry, Turek. We'll get there. We're just missing a few pieces, is all.
Yeah, we're missing like 90% of the puzzle. But yes.
If I know one thing about knowledge, it's that it has, and especially secrets, is that they have a tendency to get out sooner or later. You can't really contain a secret. They're like smoke that way.
Yes, but...
And once you see where one is starting to leak out, you can generally find the rest pretty easily.
Yeah, but what frustrates me is that even if we find out all the facts, it's not going to help, because they don't care about facts. So this is outside of my expertise, okay?
Well, if we find out exactly what happens, maybe we won't find facts as much as we find leverage, which is what we do need.
Yes, I suppose.
See? It'll all be fine. We're doing great. We are navigating an extremely complicated legal system.
Yes.
And we're doing fantastically well.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously. We're still alive.
Fair point.
Yeah,
but
see?
You do know that your positivity is slightly annoying sometimes, right?
Well,
don't stop.
Well, no, I don't intend to. Don't worry.
All right, let's just get this over with. Oh.
The sleigh pulls itself into a large and very opulent estate, and it's not long before a very shirty butler looks at the two of you. Yes?
We are servants of Master Blaxton Rose. We are here to see him.
Yes. Round the back with the rest of the servants. Have you got any luggage?
No. Just this bag.
Right. Well, in that case, then keep it with you. Is it yours or is it?
No, it's mine. It's my notes. I'm an accountant.
Don't touch her notes.
Right. Well, whatever your purpose is, round the back with the rest of the servants. Your other girl is waiting for you.
Thank you.
And where is Mr. Rose?
He is currently engaged with the mistress of this estate.
Well, could someone let him know that we're here once he's
really?
done?
I'm sure that he will be informed in due course that you have arrived. Unless there's something urgent that you need to tell your master.
Not so urgent, no.
No.
Good. Then round the
Thank you
back
very
with
much.
the rest of the servants.
Thank you.
And,
We scurry off.
right. You two head round to the back where you're met by this cook who looks the two of you up and down. Oh, it's a whole retinue, is it?
Indeed.
All right, well, I'm afraid... what do you know about your, Sajet lady?
What we know about her?
Well...
We've worked with her for quite a while.
Oh, so you know then. All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
She slipped out with the gardener for a little bit of something somewhere around the corner. I wouldn't worry.
Oh, yes.
He's not
Yeah, that makes
likely to
sense.
get her pregnant. He certainly hasn't managed to do so with the last 15 women, so I doubt that it's going to occur this time around. Anyway.
I'm sure she'll be fine.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure she will be. Until he turns around tomorrow and suddenly she finds out that his mushroom's all withered up and wrinkled away because he's found some other woman that he's going to try and work
Well,
over.
we won't be here for very long either, so I don't think it's going to matter.
No, I've just received information that you are spending the night.
Well, look, she's just, inquisitive.
I
That's
noticed
fine.
that much. She was all over the place, wasn't she? Wanting to ask questions about the murder room and all those sorts of things.
She's just a very curious person.
She's very curious, yes.
Aren't we all, really, when it comes down to it? Don't we all want to just know about what makes the world tick?
What I want to know about is how many people I actually need to cater for tonight's dinner, because it keeps growing and growing and growing, so it's very complicated. It's 2 currently
5.
upstairs. 5? There's
Yes.
more.
Yeah, no, wait.
Well,
No,
you're
the-
not
the-
going
the
to
last one
dine
won't be
with
coming.
his lordship
Sorry.
and with her grace. You'll be down here with us. I don't know how
of
they do it
course.
on the surface, but servants do not eat with their lords.
In that case, 2.
Yes, well, we'll see about that. I have heard rumours that someone else might be coming to pay a visit. Anyway, you can
Really?
sit yourselves down there and wait until we're summoned.
Who else is coming to visit? Is it someone exciting?
It depends. Is it exciting to double your workload?
Depends on the workload.
Volunteering then, are you?
Yes.
Yes?
Right.
Question
Good.
mark?
Because your last companion does not know how to scallop broken, so I hope that you can do a better job, because now we've got
Oh,
to scallop
I do know how to
twice as
work.
many.
Don't worry about that. I know how to work.
Good. She takes you deeper into the kitchen. She sort of gives you a look and she's like, well, you can just sit there and do what a man would do in this kind of situation.
Understood.
Right.
I sit down and just look really lost.
Correct.
It's like I'm in way over my head and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, I think considering Adresice, how they grew up, they
Right.
would be very at home,
Yes,
like
they
helping out in a place like this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Blaxton, there is a quiet knock and the butler walks in and he hands you a note. He has a tray and there's a note on it. There is a message for you, sir.
Oh,
It simply reads that the rest of your staff have arrived and they have been invested into the house.
all right. Very well. Thank you very much. Did they have any information for me?
If they did, they didn't say anything, sir.
I didn't say we wanted to talk to him. Or did we?
I can
All right.
inquire on your behalf if they have anything to tell you, sir. But I'm sure that if they did, they would have
had
told me.
They had a few errands to run, and I would like to know if they were successful in their duties.
I shall make inquiries, sir. He
Indeed.
leaves. As he leaves, he comes straight back in again with another note, which he walks over to Judsidari with and gives it to her. She reads the note. She looks up. She looks back again. All right.
Can I read her face?
Yes, she looks nervous.
Okay.
All right, that's fine. Yes, of course. That's fine. She puts the note back on the tray and the butler leaves immediately. She looks over at you. Would you have any reason as to why Senator Vyx might be coming to dinner tonight?
Interesting. Because of me?
I can't simply think of any other reason as to why he might suddenly pay me a visit. His note simply indicated that he was in the area and wondered if he might stop by for dinner. Right. Senator Vyx is very seldom just in an area.
All right. I say maybe he's interested because of my dealings with Senator Vestasios. I kind of rub my beard, stroking it. Oh, well, I don't have a beard in the game, so I just like rub my chin and like thinking like,
You know Senator Vestasios?
Yeah, of course. I was with her earlier yesterday. I actually was invited by her.
You are more
Blaxton
than
is
just
running up the status ladder here.
You are more than just a trader if you have words with Senator Vestasios. That changes
you do
things.
as you do.
I can quite happily now double our work orders from you. If you have Senator Vestasios' backing, that will cut through so much red tape.
I just hold up my hand. Well, let's first see how this develops before handling workloads that are... Well, you need to ease into it.
I understand, but you've just made this entire transaction that much easier.
I just shrug. So,
give me an insight check.
Sure. I just shrug. 10.
Indeed. You notice she gets up and she goes over to the desk where the note and the book is. And she makes some casual small talk about she's starting a new line of coffee, which may or may not prove interesting to the gnomish consumers because of its sweet aftertaste. But while she's doing so, she very casually takes the note and slides it into a pile of notes, and then picks the book up and sort of wanders over to the window whilst again discussing the merits of harvesting early to keep the sweetness of the beans, and just happens to take the book and slide it onto the bookshelf in amongst all of the other books. Just
right.
Completely casual like.
Absolutely. Well, I don't care about this book anymore, so.
Right. So, yes, that's what she's doing.
And I would then ask her, so, Vyx, Senator Vyx is going to join us. I've heard your father worked for him.
I wouldn't go that far. My father was the senator in charge of geology.
Right, but the city is all abuzz with the, rumors, so I just assumed... Well, maybe you enlighten me in what the situation actually was, as you have, first or second
Vyx was trying to claim territory as being rightfully his. The Senate was pushing back, of course. The territory that Vyx was claiming is quite fertile and could prove to be quite good farming grounds in the future if developed correctly. He claimed that his family, during the Great Purge, had rightful claim to the territory. My father was engaged by the Senate to go to that territory and to investigate. Well, we don't know what he found there because, of course, whilst he was there, that terrific earthquake struck. And, he wasn't home for more than 3 or 4 hours when the Hobbit came along and poisoned him.
So, do you know what he was searching for, sent by the Senate?
Yes, he was looking for old markers, geological evidence that the Drow had supposedly planted there during the Great Purge. Whether he found it or not, I don't know. But now I suppose with that earthquake, well, what's happened is that Vyx has now moved forward, claiming that the earthquake has rendered the territory unusable. Hence the value is not so great, and so the Senate doesn't seem to be pushing back as much.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Did your father have a study here?
Yeah, this is his study, as a matter of fact.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I don't want to hold you any longer. I'll just go through the paperwork again, and is there any place I could meet with my Well, I'll just say I don't want you to be in need to kind of produce turmoil in your whole estate. Just send my servitors here, and I can speak with the details about them, and see if they did their job at least.
Absolutely. I have other matters. You may use this room as you like.
Thank you.
Yes. When you say, did my father have a study, did you mean his laboratory?
I'm just interested in geological work, that's all. It's a pastime hobby of mine.
And then perhaps after dinner I will take you to the caves. They are near the lake. That is where he spent most of his time. This was his study for learning, but his actual laboratory was out in the caves, yes.
That's interesting. Nice. Well, let's see how our lunch... She said lunch, right?
Right.
Yeah, our lunch will go, and what Senator Vyx has to say. Senators have the tendency to change your plans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like suddenly dropping dead and suddenly you inherit an entire estate.
You're doing a fine job thus far, from what I can tell.
Well, thank you very
much.
much.
What it's worth.
She says as she leaves. There is a young drow who comes running into the kitchens, and he looks around and he sees the two of you. He mutters something in Drow, and the cook looks at both of you. Adresai, this is as you are busy finishing off sort of the 20th white fruit thing that's been paired up. Well, it seems
taking my claws and just...
Yeah, that's very useful. I must get one of you. I'll speak to the butler and see if we can bring one down from upstairs.
There are plenty of us up there.
Your master's calling for you.
Thank God.
The butler drifts in. Yes, come with me.
All right.
He leads you along a very plain passageway and eventually up the stairs and into this very grandiose study. There's books all over the place, and Blaxton, of course, is standing there waiting. Before I carry on with you guys, I'm going to bunch over to Saket. You and the amorous gardener are legging it across the open field next to the lake towards the caves.
How romantic.
Yes. He's quite
If it would
eager.
be sunset, it would be right now.
Right. Somewhere it's a sunset. And you arrive at this magnificent collection of naturally weathered caves and things. One of them has a rather neatly made wall and door set into it, with workbenches outside. It's quite close to the lake itself. There's a little pier that stretches out into the lake, and a very, very elegant black rowing boat of sorts. And the rowing boat, you sort of look over and look at its purpose. Right in the center of the lake is an island, and on top of that island, or in the center of that island, there looks to be a mausoleum of some kind with several trees growing around it. And the gardener kind of rushes you past all of that. Master's laboratory is not important. This cave, however, he says as he leads you to one of them, this one is my favorite one. He says as he leads you into the mouth of the cave. It's very beautiful. I don't have the keys locked.
One that all the work took
This
place
is the
in.
beautiful one, he says. It's got the crystals in it.
Damn.
Yes. They shine like rubies.
The crystals?
Crystals that shine like rubies. Might be rubies.
Okay. Let's see these crystals that shine like
Right.
rubies.
Well, he dashes into
Holy
this cave entrance, and you have to sort of squeeze your way around and make your way deeper. Give me a nature check, if you please. 13. Although these caves originally, as you're going in, look as if they have been carved by the flow of water, there's certain bends and changes and course corrections which are quite unnatural. Their angles are a little bit too sharp. But once you're 20 foot into the cave, it becomes quite dark until Oxium strikes a light and causes a torch to flare up, and he takes you a little bit further, and you can see he steps out into this circular chamber, and there are indeed these crystals sticking out of the walls that have got a pinkish sort of hue to them. They're not ruby red, but they're pinkish,
Like quartz.
yeah. And there's a blanket on the floor. It looks like there's an old basket. There's a bottle of wine. There's some old candles, which he quickly sort of rushes around and touches with the torch, causing these candles to light up. And then he turns around. Okay, it's beautiful, yes? There is one thing that make it more beautiful.
Very. And how did this? No. How did this come? It looks mine to me. I mean, it's not a natural cave. I guess you wouldn't know because your history is probably
No,
going
but you
through
said
poor.
we come to
I
the
really
caves.
think I should get back to my master now. It's been lovely meeting you.
What?
It's not good enough. Bye.
Give me a... either give me a deception check or an intimidation check. It's your choice.
Oh no.
On a deception.
Okay, that's 18
He looks you up and down,
on a deception.
and there is a litany of Drow words that flood around you as you leave the cave. Just walking out. His intention is very, very clear. There is a very passionate young man who is releasing his frustrations to the world about the surface dwellers. Right. So are you heading back to the
I
main
possibly
villa?
start moving a lot faster.
All right. It doesn't take you long,
Yes,
and thankfully
very
he
high
doesn't seem to
speed at
follow.
this
He's at least decent enough not to do that. And it doesn't take you too long until you get back to the kitchens, and just as timing happens to be, as you arrive, the cook looks up at you and goes, "Ha! That was quick! Well, your master wants you in the main chamber, so you better go through."
Good, right, okay, thank
And
you.
the young
Great,
lad
great
shows
news.
you into
Okay,
the chamber.
bye.
So, literally, Jorik and Adresai, as you're walking in to see Blaxton, a few moments later, Saket walks in behind you, having been shown in. Breathing quite heavily, actually.
Really?
Everyone together again. How wonderful. Perfect.
Saket, we are working, you know that, right? Ah, yeah, I heard.
I was working.
I don't want to hear it.
I found out quite a lot,
I thought you wanted to
actually.
hear this. That's what you
There
were
are secret
complaining about the whole
passages
time in the
all over
wagon
this place.
on the way over here. That
Oh,
you
not
didn't hear
that
enough stuff
part.
like that. Exactly.
I
Oh,
wasn't doing that. I was finding out information.
Yes, we heard about him
From a
too.
very over-enthusiastic
Oh,
gardener
all right.
who
My
found the
mistake
poison
then. I
while having little
interpreted that
dalliance.
very differently.
Yes. Yes, I have found out very much from this over-amorous gardener. It's been quite successful. I don't think I handled it very well near the end, but Never mind, it'll be fine.
He's at the far end of the room.
Yeah. Just go
Sitting
find
on the throne.
Blaxton.
At this point. So what I would actually be doing, I would see and take a look at the back of the books, or if they aren't written on, kind of pull the books out and see. What I'm looking for is some sort of journal. And I'm looking for a recent journal that coincides with the place and time, maybe the last one, perhaps, of his work. Because if this is a study, I hope he takes notes, and I want to know what he learned, perhaps, going through them.
These are all academic books. There doesn't seem to be any sort of personal journal entries here whatsoever. And the topic, most of it's written in Drow, but every now and again you come across an Elvish treatise, or even more rarely a Dwarvish one.
I'm certainly searching for notes. So if they're this seems the theme. Like I assume they organize the library of some sort. So going through one section to the next to the next. If that all seems to be like
all geology. Yeah.
Then I would go to the workspace, the workbench, and take a look at that kind of drawer, take the drawers out, see if there's anything.
You get the impression that this has been set up to... It really is just a reading library with material that doesn't seem to have anything. There are a few notes here and there, but from what you can see, the notes correspond with the books. So it's as if he was copying stuff out of the books and that kind of stuff.
Right, like making notes and...
Correct. And the cursory glance and Drow at what was written down, it was geology related.
So maybe the library then. With that, I would say, and they kind of look around... servants.
I'm still wearing a dirty apron over my silk high-collared jacket. Well, we found out a lot of very interesting things, and I've got the feeling that you two have as well.
Indeed. So what were your... and kind of take a look around again, kind of showingly So
walk a bit closer and sort of lower my voice a bit, at least.
Okay. Yeah. So
give me a moment, please. And
how were you?
I try to. I cast Aura of Jubilation, which is basically giving everyone within 60 feet disadvantage on perception checks for a minute, so we can speak freely.
Speak freely for a minute. And a minute. Go.
All right. So
yes,
what did you find out?
Well, we couldn't talk to him alone.
Whispering. Okay.
Yes, the advocate was there, so we couldn't really speak to him alone. But he did give us a note. So he basically repeated what we already knew. But he did give us this, or he gave me this in secret, and I show him the rune and the drop.
Sure. If it's in Dwarvish rune, could I read it?
It's the symbol for power.
Okay.
And very specifically, like a large amount of channeled power within a drop of water, which I found very fascinating.
All right. Then I would say, we have a fabulous deal with the lady, and I speak a little bit louder this, so if there's any listeners that would hear this. The fabulous deal with the lady of this house, and Senator Vyx is going to visit us later on. So that's going to be this is a fortuitous change of events.
Your minute is up.
Yeah.
Right. I cast prestidigitation and cast a nice music surrounding us, so that people listening in will hear that rather than us talking.
To a degree, all right.
And I say, yes, and I have some work for you to do as well, Adrosai. You are the bookkeep after all, indeed. Yes. And I just said, when we met the trader that I met yesterday, we did a little bit of paperwork, and I kind of give her a stack of paper. Within the stack of paper is the
little paperwork.
Is it my birthday?
Yeah, but within those papers, mostly nonsense. Well, it really would be actually accounting work. But the other stuff is actually the book that was
discovered. Right.
Well,
from the shelf.
procured.
Is it the whole book or just the papers that you?
It's just the papers within, right? If you have a book, what I assume if you have a book, it's just the papers within, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but it's all of the papers from the book.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, right.
And I say it might be interesting for your eyes.
I will certainly have a long look at this.
Yes. Well, just make sure don't make any mistakes. It's
When
this
have I ever?
fine deed. Just like look at her, just like
All right.
Yes, and me and Adresai, we spoke to your business associate, but we can take the details later.
all right.
He
So there's
didn't have
nothing
much interesting to say.
All right.
No, but there is interesting things around this house, like the little secret passages, including to the halfling's room, where someone could have sneaked in. Apparently the gardener was meeting up with his girlfriend at the time in the room, who was
So you
already
met this
in
gardener
the
already,
room
right?
prior to him discovering the poison.
Would you then be interested
I
to
don't know
meeting
if
his
I'm the
girlfriend
best-
too?
Yes.
Well, maybe you
I don't
have
know if
like
I'm gonna be
something
the
common
right
to speak
person
about, but
anymore
certainly
to
somebody
meet
else
the
might be able to
girlfriend, maybe.
investigate and squeeze her a little bit, kind of taking a look at Yorick.
Squeezing? Are you for real now? But yes,
Come on,
I can do that. Sorry. Sorry.
Step up, man. Well,
But yes,
What
I can
else have
certainly
we
do it.
found?
Do you want me to do it?
There's also a cave with lots of interesting crystals that could clearly be mined down there. I couldn't get into his lab, but there's definitely something else going on down there. There's also an island with something on it.
Mausoleum
and a
is
boat
separate from the
that
laboratory. The laboratory was built into the cave system. The mausoleum was on the island.
The mausoleum.
well,
Yes.
I'm considering this note that your associate slipped us. I definitely want to have a look at that cave system, especially if there are like flows of water in there.
Yes, Lady Jazidari knows about my interest in geology. Maybe she will
Wouldn't surprise
show
me if there was
me and or
water in there.
us.
Yes, your associate was quite specific that we should ask her about it.
About this?
About this.
Ah, yes, of course. Maybe I'll bring it up during on our way to the laboratory. I don't know necessarily if Senator Vyx should be present when we do this, though.
I hand him the copy I made of the blood symbol,
Right.
just so he has it.
It's a teardrop shape with that lightning bolt through the middle of it. All right.
Very well.
I really should be getting back to the kitchen. They have a lot to do down there.
And I take a look and outside to see. I don't know. Is there any kind of time measuring possible? You said like the sun, quote unquote, changes the.
As you look
luminosity of it?
outside, somewhere within the actual building itself, a gong sounds out. It sounds out 3 times, so you think it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 o'clock and whatever this time is.
Right.
Mm.
Because I will be. What I want to do is I want to be back here for lunch, for when it is supposed to, like it's supper, I guess. But I want to be back at the hotel inn for noonish, because I have a date. Or some scheduling.
Right. Saket, what are you going to do?
Well, I guess
Yeah.
I'm gonna take
Yeah,
Derek
I'll
to
go
try and
find if we
the
have a room
Erie.
somewhere to have a look at this paperwork.
All right, yes. So the servants have been assigned, all 3 of you have been assigned a single room where there's a triple bunk, very simple, very austere kind of thing. So they'll point you in the direction of that. All right, you're going to go and try and find Erie. Jurek, what is your charisma, just out of curiosity?
-5.
15.
All right. And Blaxton, what are you going to do while everyone sort of disappears off to their assigned tasks?
It really depends on what time it is. If I can get back to the city, I would do that and kind of inform, obviously, was it the Majordomo or some sort of person who kind of greeted me?
You mean the scribe?
No. I mean the person who kind of greeted me into the estate, into the
yes,
estate.
the butler. Yes.
Yeah. Like I wasn't sure if it's the majordomo or if it was just the butler or whatever it was. Like, but I would like inform them that I would be back, obviously. And I still have business to attend to in the city. Basically.
You have 2 bells before the meal is to be served, sir. So you should have plenty of time to get back.
All right, that's great. Yeah.
I also think I have worked it out.
Worked what out?
He ushers you to a pillar, and he rests his hand very purposefully on the pillar, and he whispers, I worked out your little theory, sir. I know exactly what you were thinking.
I nod and say, well, what did you work out then?
I know who the halfling was here to actually see, sir.
Really?
Yes. He was
I'll
here.
hand him another 2 gold. I guess.
Thank you, sir. He was here to see the maid Eerie. Yes. Now I happen to hear some servants who are talking in the passageway.
Oh, really? That's juicy.
Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. So, I have worked it out, sir. I thank you for the lead. It will prove most useful in the coming future.
Indeed, it will. Indeed, it will.
You board the spider sleigh that's going to take you back to town.
Yes.
Jorik and Saket, you go down into the servants' quarters, where you can hear shouting coming from without, and it's in Drow, so it's a sort of cacophony of very guttural sounds mixed with this very lyrical sort of fusion that they have. And the door slams, and this very irate young woman comes storming past you, and she stops, looks at you, Jorik, looks back out over her shoulder where the door is starting to swing open again, and she basically tries to plant her lips on yours.
Okay.
Squeeze tight.
Surprised, but I play along because this is interesting.
Yeah, step up, Jorik.
So, Saket, you're standing next to him, and this young female drow she's trying to swallow his head by the looks of things, the way she's so passionately going at it. And you can see standing at the end of the corridor and outside is Oxium the gardener. He sees her basically performing CPR on Jorik's internal organs, and he shouts something at her in Drow, looks at you, shouts something else in Drow, and then turns and leaves, trudging down the driveway. After a few moments, she stops extracting your kidneys and looks up at you and says, sorry. And then she turns and she starts walking away.
Hey, nice to meet you.
She stops, she looks back at you. What?
Nice to meet you.
Just leave.
Men! She says as she turns and storms away down the passageway.
Women.
All right. And Adresai, you get into your small chamber. You open up the book, or the papers.
I've started sort of getting comprehend languages going so that I can figure things out.
Give me an Arcana check, though, first, before you do anything.
That is 15.
15, all right. As you open up the book, the cover says, on the nature of geomancy and the rendering of geography. On the front page, underneath that title, there are 2 teardrop-shaped objects that have been drawn. One has the rune of power, the other has the rune of earth. very neatly carved into both of them. And you realize it's not water. It looks as if it's a teardrop of flinted stone that's been chiseled or carved to look like a teardrop, rather than an actual water. And that's what you realize this book is all about. As to this geomancy, you can give me a history check if you like.
Sure. Ooh, that is 24.
So, when the dragons were expelled from Braxia, there was one component which the druids were principally responsible for, which was the, and given the nature of this episode, I have to use this word, the erection of the anchors all over the planet. There was a single druid who worked out how to do it, and he was using knowledge that he claimed to have found in this tome, which he called geomancy.
Oh.
But no one was entirely sure how he actually did it, and once it was done, he and the book vanished from history. No one knows what happened to the book or what happened to the druid. But there were simultaneously around the entire planet 20 anchors made out of solid stone which erupted from the surface of the planet to create the anchors themselves. A feat which was as close to deity divined as the banishment of the dragons themselves.
So is this a book about this, or is this the book?
You've only got the first 2 pages. It's very difficult to read it because the text is swimming all over the place. But this could quite possibly be the actual book that this druid was claiming to have read.
Wow, I think Adversai has to stand up and walk a few circles in the room, just sort of, and then sort of sit back down and try to make sense of as much of this as possible. They are going into super focus mode right now.
And on that note, we will catch up with you all again next week as our intrepid heroes continue to unravel this many-layered onion of a mystery as to just what is going on. Hopefully clarity is starting to be found, and hopefully next week we will see the return of Con, who will miraculously recover from his 24-hour bug. Until next time, thanks for watching. Those of you who stay with us for the review, that's what we're going to go straight into, and we're going to use Dice of Destiny to determine who goes first, and that's number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's Tobias. You are up again.
The dice hates me, doesn't it?
It's 3 when it was players, and it's you again now. So yes, absolutely. Jorik is complaining about not knowing what's going on. How's Tobias doing?
I'm actually fine. I'm enjoying it. Jorik is definitely lost, but Jorik didn't really do much this episode, and I'm fine with that because he is currently really doubting himself because this is so way out of what he thought it was going to be that he's just like, I can do this? No, shit, I can't. So he's kind of struggling with some self-confidence right now, but he'll probably get through it. He's trying to help the best he can, even though this is not at all his area of expertise. So I don't know. I don't have much to add, really. I enjoy the episode, and I could probably have taken a little more room again, but didn't feel like Jorik really had moments where he would shine here. So
Sure. Do you have a theory as to what's going on?
Oh, I have many theories. My notes are full of... I have, facts, rumors, and, speculations. So I have a lot of speculations, but nothing concrete yet. Nothing that really says this happened, but a lot of theories.
All right.
So I'm going to have to see if the theories hold up to the facts that we uncover.
There we go. All right. Saket, the seducer, the seductress from the sands above. No, absolutely not.
Yes, whoops. I don't think she means to be either.
Right, some solid
But she'll go with the
detective
flow
work, I
it takes
suppose, or
her.
infiltration work would be more the
But yeah.
appropriate term here, isn't it?
Yes. And a lot of notes.
Yeah,
a
there's
lot
pages
of
upon
notes,
pages of notes
because
by
it is
now.
all very...
And do you have a
We're
theory?
all turning into Androsai here.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, like, we were supposed to have one scribe. We have 4 or 5. So, yeah, I mean, it's all very intriguing. Like, where is this going? I have a couple of theories. Clearly the maid is up to her neck in it. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting trying to phantom out what on earth is going on and how it links to
All right, interesting.
other things
Let's see
that
where
have
we end up.
happened.
Simon,
Yes. That's me.
that's you.
As a player, well, first of all, as a character, well, he comes at least from some sort of nobility, so these kinds of plays and such are maybe a little bit more common than for
Right.
him than for Yorick. Although here it is basically turned up to 11, right? So,
Right.
but a little bit more up his avenue, I guess, in this case. As a player, so what did I do? Why did I do things? Well, obviously there was something happening with the book, so that's why I wanted to have it. Seems to be interesting, even more so intriguing as kind of I was not able to read it, at least at a glance. Yeah, other than that, trying to play the politics here and let's see what happens.
Indeed. And,
As a player,
right. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
yeah, interesting. Want to do so many different things, find out so many information about people. But I am actually also more interested in people than facts, because I mean it would help certainly to know certain facts what happened. But I think I have enough dirt at this point. I'm looking forward to the play, at least the ideas that I want to have in the play, and how that will kind of shape out.
Right, absolutely.
So that could be quite interesting.
Blaxton, paladin, trader, playwright. I can see it now. All right, lovely. Adversai, how are they doing? You've now got a book.
Yes, Adversai once again is firmly in their own comfort zone.
Right.
Adversai is having a lot of fun, I think, because Adversai chiefly, more than seeking out knowledge, is a seeker of experience and experiencing new things. And all of this is unlike anything that they have previously experienced.
Right.
And still that they got that little like point of comfort in the kitchen, and then connecting that with just stepping back into a role that they had when they were growing up.
Right.
And then immediately stepping out of it back into this high drama experience. I think I don't know. I think they might be in a kind of weird mental space right now. But
Right.
personally, Jenny, when it comes to what's going on, I had a few theories and I had a few ideas then, and now this book has shown up, and things I feel are going to change very much, and I feel like things might go in the direction that might once again be within the purview of the actual Order of the Hastari,
Right.
considering the connection with the druids and the geology. But we'll have to see, and I'm extremely fascinated and very excited about finding out.
Absolutely.
So here's just a mechanical question.
Yes.
If we find something like dragon worshippers and whatnot, we need to speak to the oracle, to speak with the deacon, so the deacon can speak to the
Correct.
archon, to make it kind of light up. But our oracle is still like kilometers away. Right?
Correct.
It's like at least 6 kilometers up, and however far we kind of.
Right.
So is this still possible for us?
As far as you would know, yes. The Oracle has a bond with everybody who's on board her ship, if you like. And there has never been a case where the Oracle hasn't been able to achieve a dialogue. They are, to a degree, again, this is a bit murky because whenever you ask specific questions about Oracles within the Academy, they're kind of vague, but The Oracle is always aware of her captains under her command.
Right.
So you merely need to think dragon, and she will relay immediately back and get everything activated.
Right.
So
better not have like a. So better not saying,
it's not just a random thought.
This is just dragging on, and it's not suddenly like.
No, it needs to be a sustained thought.
Okay, so we can get basically open.
Yes,
okay, that was
so.
only question I had, because obviously.
Just a point on that, Adresai, what you would know about this book is this predates the dragons. So this book itself does not fall into the Oct Relicar's purview. They are tasked with hunting down and destroying these sort of artifacts if they have dragon relations. These don't. This was predating that.
Yeah, exactly. But correct. What these people are doing with this book...
Yes, well, that's a different story. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Correct. Obviously, from my side, the challenge that you have with these sort of mysteries and things is that when you're trying to give out stuff and roles determine that roles have to happen because people are trying to write stuff in blood on their bed sheet and the characters don't see that, and then they double over and they write it on the ground and they don't see it. These things happen, and so you've got to work out a way to then try and grab a piece of paper and do it on the paper. So I find that when you're running an adventure like this, you have to adapt how you give out the information, and you have to find a way to give it out in such a way that hopefully it doesn't come across as being too spoon-fed. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Thanks to my wonderful players for playing along on this crazy adventure. And eventually we will get to an end one way or another. And until next time, thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.